Hello everyone, this is Mike Fauché. Today I'd like to cover a product that's certainly not a new product. It's been around forever, but they keep making it better and better. So I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about the Logitech Harmony Elite. Okay, so the first thing in setting one of these up is you actually have to install a little piece of software in your computer. So it's a small little desktop application you download, and when you get ready to launch it, it basically takes you to this screen. Here you'll either create an account if you don't already have one, or in my case I'm just going to log in. And when you log in, it takes you to the screen where all your devices are. I actually have 3 of these. I just picked up a 4th one. I'm going to be replacing the Harmony 1 that you see listed on your screen there with another Harmony Elite, because I was truly impressed with the first one I got, so I'm going to go ahead and set another one up. But I want to walk you through the interface. The process of setting up is actually pretty easy. You click on Add Remote. And you plug the thing into your computer through a USB device, and it'll detect it. I'm going to skip this part for now because I've already got it set up, so I'm going to walk you through some of the options. Once you pass this, it's basically takes you back to this screen here. So let's go dive into some of the options once you've actually set up the Elite, or any of the Harmony remotes for that matter. So you're greeted with kind of a real basic interface, giving you some options, and I'm going to suggest that you start from the left column because that kind of walks you through. So the first thing you want to do is add the devices that you're going to be using. So the process is pretty simple. Click on Add Device, type in the manufacturer, device model number, and just go ahead and add all the devices that you're planning to use on that particular remote. You also have the option of adding your Philips Hue, which I've done over here. So once you've got all your devices set up, your next step is to go to basically to create them in an activity. The groups thing here is really specifically for the Philips Hue stuff. So if you want to create different groups for different lighting, you can do that from here. I've only assigned one set of lights to a particular button, which we'll get into a little bit. So basically you're going to go to Activities next. And Activities is kind of what it spells out. It's what are you trying to do at the time. So you have your basic watch TV, watch your Apple TV, watch your Roku, Blu-ray player, Shield, whatever it is that you have. You're going to set it up as an activity. So the process is pretty straightforward. I'm going to use an existing one so you can kind of see the choices that you have. I'm going to click Change Your Settings, which is the same as setting up a new one. Basically going to name it, and if you want to do a custom icon, you can. So as you step through, you're gonna check off all of the actual components that are part of that activity. But once you've done that, you click Next. And then it asks you a bunch of questions. Which device do you use to change channels? In my case, it's the DVR. Which device do you use to control the volume? In my case, it's the my Onkyo AV receiver. So I'm going to click Next. And here it's going to tell you about you're getting ready to set up inputs and outputs for your devices. So I'm going to hit Next. So it's going to ask me which input should the Samsung TV be set to. So in my case, it's an HDMI. I have everything running from an AV receiver and only one cable into the TV. So I'm not using all the other HDMIs. So I'm going to hit Next. Then it says which input to set the receiver to. So I'm going to use cable box. Hit Next. And here's a summary of the activity. So the device is actually going to obviously turn all the needed devices on, set them to the proper inputs or outputs, and then your activity is completed. So basically you're going to do this to every activity that you need to do. And in my case, I've got watching the Apple TV, watching TV. Got a Sonos, which is an audio setup only, the NVIDIA Shield, and my Samsung 4K Blu-ray player. Once you've completed your activities, you've kind of done the basic thing for setup. The first time you sync it, it's going to require that you put it in a computer. But after that, from that point on, you can use the app or the remote to sync any changes that you made onto the either through the remote or app or through their web interface. They will all sync together. The other cool thing that I think is worth mentioning is you can play around with button assignments, and obviously this is a personal thing. All the defaults typically work right out of the box because they support almost every device known to mankind. But there's one that's kind of unique to the latest branch of Logitech remotes, and that's the home controls, since it works with Philips Hue and some of the other devices. So including Alexa, I believe Google Home, Alexa, and some home support. So here you can actually go to, if I want to change, you can see on the screen it's highlighted the bottom buttons there. So I can go to look at those, and I can program those buttons to do anything I want. So in my case, all I've done is put two scenes up that I'd already created in my Philips Hue, and I basically assigned them to, buttons 1 and 2. This gives me the option to, control lights. If I'm watching a movie or something and it's I want to turn off or dim the lights, I can do that. So it gives you some options on how to control your lighting system. So we'll get into settings. Here you don't have a lot of options, but here's where you update your software. Rename your hub, because as you get multiple of these, they all default name is all the same. You can customize the background image, so if you want to upload your own image, you can. And you have a few more options here to change the Wi-Fi settings. Every time you make changes and you click on sync, it's basically going to prompt you to do it through the app, and it walks you through exactly what you can do. You can either do it through the phone app or directly from the remote, and it's fairly quick. It's just a few seconds to make the changes. So it gives you the option to make a whole bunch of changes, do whatever you want to do. I can't recommend this product enough. Again, I've been a user for probably the better part of 10 years. These things have been around for a long time. The difference is they keep making them better and better. And on their most recent release, I think last year, they've added home automation support, which is really kind of cool. Puts it right over the edge a little bit. And there's a whole bunch more you can do with these things. I'm just walking you through the basic setup. Okay, now that I've walked you through, the overview of how to configure these and how to set them up, let's actually do one. And I want to walk you through it a slightly different way, which is basically an upgrade. So let's say, in my case, I'm going to replace the Harmony One, and I don't want to set it up from scratch. I want to actually import all the settings from my old remote. And that's pretty powerful since it saves you a bunch of time. The old remote's configured, working well. All I need to do is basically replace it. So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to click on Add Remote, and I'm going to go plug it in. Okay, so as you can see, it's actually walking through the setup. Now it's asking me to plug the hub into the wall, so I'll do that next. You're prompted with some quick information on the distance, how far apart they can be for now. And as soon as it detects it, it walks you through and says, okay, welcome. So of course you got to accept the conditions. And we give it a name. Something creative. I'm going to hit next. Here it's going to scan for Wi-Fi networks so that you can actually pick the one you wanted to go to. So I'll pick the Wi-Fi I want, and then of course it wants you to type in the password. Okay, and then now that we're connected to the Wi-Fi, I'm going to hit next. So now it's going to do a software update. So I'm going to skip over this part. Okay, so now that the upgrade is finished, or software update is finished, it goes on and automatically takes you to the next step. So once you're done with the software setup, it's now giving you a choice to set up with the mobile app or to continue with the computer. And I prefer to do it from a computer, although that's totally up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Okay, and this is a really critical question here because this is where you decide whether or not you're doing a new configuration or you're going to copy the existing settings from an existing device. So I'm going to hit copy settings. I can pick a different device, but the first one it found is the one I want to actually use. So I'm going to copy from this setting and I'm going to say yes. And it says it's copied, it's all done. Click OK. And then it takes you back to the screen. And so we now see that I have all the devices, and hit next. Here it gives me the option to actually make any changes, just to review everything I got. I'm going to say done. So this is, I can add an activity or edit the existing one, but I'm happy with it since everything was working before. So I'm going to hit done and pick my provider here. And I'm just going to save from here because I'm not interested in setting up channels right now. I'm going to go ahead and hit sync. And it's now syncing the remote. So it's basically going to copy all the settings. Since both devices are actually plugged in, it's actually uploading it through the USB cable. Once I disconnect the remote from the computer, it's all done over the air. So any further changes that you make, with the exception of software updates, will be done through the air. So that's pretty much it in setting up a device. And you'll see here in just a second when this progress bar completes that it's added the device to my existing remote gallery and it's copied all the settings. And as you can see, it's did the sync of both the hub and the remote, and we're kind of done. So now we should see the fourth device appear here, and it does. And it's telling me I need to update the remote software, so we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, now that everything is finished, you can now see that I have the second Harmony Elite, and that one is set up for the family room. You can also see that it's the activities and the number of devices has been mirrored off the Harmony 1. I can now technically delete the Harmony 1. I'm going to leave it for a little bit just to make sure it's working. And you can have up to 15 different remotes on your account. So it's not a problem having and leaving them there. Although I would recommend you keep it as straight as you can just to make it easier and less confusing, especially on the devices. Because, you know, we all change devices quite a bit, so it's nice to keep those current. Anyway, that's it for importing an existing Harmony remote into a new Harmony remote without having to reinvent the wheel. Okay, just wanted to go over a little bit of the function now, so now that we've set it all up and everything's working correctly. So as you can see from the screen, all the activities that we just programmed in now appear on the screen. So if I want to watch TV, I just simply tap the Watch TV button. Regardless of where I'm at, since the hub is actually sitting right on the entertainment center, the remote will actually pick it up. So it's actually now turning on the TV and the sound bar and everything else associated with it. So now you can kind of see that everything is up on the screen. So I have some other options I can do. If I want to switch from, let's say, watching TV to something else, I can hit the activities button and switch over to, say, watch Apple TV. It already knows everything that's actually on, so it only doesn't turn the TV back off again. It just switches inputs on the soundbar, and I'm now on the Apple TV screen. You've also, obviously got all of the functions which are changeable through the software. You can remap any of these buttons or keys or anything like that. So now everything is kind of set up. So if I want to go back to watching TV, I can just go back to activities and go back to watch TV. So when I'm done, and I'm done for the evening, to turn it off is pretty straightforward. Off button right on the top. You just turn off. And all of these keys that you see here, let me move that up a little bit. So all of these keys that you see are programmable, so you can assign them to specific tasks. They are already programmed out of the box, but if you want to change them or remap them, you can. Like for example, these colored keys, which are typically for DVRs and things, cable boxes, you can remap those if you want to do something else with it. So you have total control over what you want to do. Again, it's a great device. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll include some links to some of these products. If you decide that you want to go ahead and pick one up, I would appreciate the support. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.